Yeah, thank you. And the time is 11 minutes to 8, and so as part of our discussion, as we all know, we hear some presentations for about half an hour, after which we continue the conversation. I don't know if anyone has spoken about the earthquake in the UK, the political earthquake that happened on the 4th of July, 5th of July. I don't know if anyone has shared that yet, but yeah, if nobody has, we'll hear that later. Um, so, Brother Pigeon,
It's either sharing.
who is sharing today?
I'm the one.
Why did you call it an earthquake, Kwame?
I didn't call it. That's what they called it, political earthquake.
Really?
Yes.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
I thought
that's
it
what
was you that named it that.
No, they call it political earthquake.
Interesting.
Yeah, because yeah, we can discuss that later. Why they
Okay.
call it that later.
Okay.
Yeah, Brother Pigeon, who is sharing today? I know Sister Chisoma will share next week instead of today.
I'm the one sharing.
So,
I'm trying to learn how I can share my comments as well, my notes, so that I can get to share together.
well, on the screen.
Yeah, if I can be able to read my notes, I don't know how, but I'm the one sharing.
What do you mean read your notes? They are your notes, aren't they?
No, they're what you call speakers notes. I'm trying to see how I can be able to access them once I'm sharing.
Okay. Is this a PowerPoint presentation?
Yes, it's PowerPoint presentation.
Congratulations. This is the first one. Well done, brother. You are learning.
Yeah, I'm trying to learn.
Your first presentation, where is the PowerPoint? Wonderful. Well done. I can see you also have our logo. Sister, so as Brother Pigeon is getting ready, Sister Nancy, I hope you don't mind me requesting that at some point you do a presentation for us on Marxism, because I have a feeling you understand it very well. So if you don't mind, at some point, if you let us know when you can, I think it would be nice to do a presentation for us.
I will do a presentation. We can have further conversation about the topic.
Excellent, excellent. So Brother Pigeon will get in touch with you so that you can agree the date and then maybe the borders, how far you want to go. Yeah. Thank you very much, Brother Pigeon. You're ready, yeah?
Is my screen okay?
Your screen is beautiful.
Brother Joseph seems to have his hand up.
Yeah, I noticed. Brother Joseph, as you know, is our resident elder. So when he raises his hand, we have to listen. Brother Joseph, yes, the floor is yours. Before Brother Pigeon starts.
Yes, earlier on, just quickly, earlier on, I mentioned that we should set aside a time for us to discuss this whole thing of disaster and a natural disaster, if we should call it natural disaster, and how it's affecting the future of our lives, because it's affecting every part of the world, and particularly the people of African people, and of course indigenous people in particular. Okay. So, and the poor, and the working poor. So we should designate some time and find folks that could speak to that, because very often that is only an afterthought. We should, because in as much as we want political unification, we need to have the environment, we need to have the whole, I mean, that to live that, to create that. So I just hope that we could agree that we will do something. And
Brother Joseph, you don't need to hope. Let's liaise with Brother Pigeon so you can agree on a date to do that. Yeah. So we don't need to hope. There is a brother called Hammond Entry from Ghana. He did a presentation on. He's an environmentalist, some kind of expert on environment, the Ghanaian. And I don't know if Sister Ida remembers this, but he did a presentation to GAC on the environment. Very, very powerful. I don't remember if Sister Pamela was also there at the time. So we can invite him. I do follow him on that website called ResearchGate, I think it's called. I will see if I can speak to him to also be part of that discussion.
But we should have also people from different parts of the world, because I was telling Brother Peter, you had situation in East Africa this year where the flooding, people die in Brazil. You had so much in Suriname where rivers have dried up and so on, and that is not being in the news, you know. So we need to really.
I agree. So so
United States. And of course, in the United States, they have their own problem with heat and whatever, and it would affect particularly people like African American more than others. Thank you.
Yeah, that's fine. So liaise with Brother Pigeon so that we can agree on a date. The Saturdays are ours. We can use them how we like. I mean, currently we want to discuss all these topics related to the unification of Africa. But for us, as you know, the African Caribbean is part of us, as is Haiti. So yes, why not? And if we want, of course, we can set aside one of the Saturdays just for presentations on an issue where someone can present maybe for an hour or so. You know, so yeah, I am very happy with that, and I'm sure members here are also happy with that. That we set aside a date for that. Thank you, Brother Pigeon. Are you ready?
Yeah, thank you, Brother Kwame. And I'll please, as you said, I'll get in touch with Sister Nancy. I know now there's a pending presentation from Sister Chisomo or Sister Nancy, and now Brother Joseph, and more will be coming up. And also Ndadema Fole, I know there's a presentation next week again on continuation of the last week presentation, which was really powerful. So yes, we're looking forward to engage more people to come in and share with us more about this.
Yeah, Brother Pigeon, we really thank you for your continued work. Really, as a secretariat for us, you know, it's really wonderful, and we thank you.
Thank you.
Before you present, can I ask you a question? You said that as part of the unification agenda, you want age restrictions removed from presidents.
Yes.
So, are you saying that a 12-year-old can be president?
No, there's the age of candidacy. I've done a research about this.
I understand. My question is, if a 12-year-old wants to be president, should he be allowed to run? That's my question.
Did we have 12-year-old kings in our traditional setup?
That's what I'm asking you. Are you saying that 12-year-olds should be able to run for president? Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is that the agreed age for somebody to vote should be the agreed age for somebody to be a leader. So which is 18 years old. As many countries are 18 years old or 16 years old as the age of consent, which means as the age of somebody being responsible for their actions.
So you are saying that the 16-year-olds should be able to be president of a country. I'm just asking. Is that what you're saying?
My approach is that if a country rests in that, if the country gives that person right to vote a leader, the country gives the right at certain age for that person to vote a leader, then that means that that country recognizes that this person has ability to make a right decision. That's why they give them rights to make a choice to vote a right leader. Then the country should not also deny them rights to be a leader. Because the fact that you recognize that I'm conscious enough to make a right decision to vote a right leader, then that do not limit my also rights to be the right leader. That's what my argument.
Okay, so you think that the ability of someone to reason out an issue at the age of 16 and vote is the same as running a country? You think they have the ability to run a country?
Yeah, that's what
I'm just asking.
Yeah, and I'm saying that that's true, because if you
think a 16-year-old has the ability to run a country.
If you think a 16-year-old has a right to elect a leader who runs a country, and you think that they have a right mind to make that decision to vote a leader who runs a country, what makes you think that this person do not also have a right thing or right thinking to be the leader? Because if you can make the right choice in your mind, assess it and make the right decision, what limits you from the right decision?
Okay, so you think that if as a 16-year-old, my mom cooks food, and I can make a decision that the food tastes nice, it follows that I can cook the same food.
If you can give the recipe for a right food, why can't you not be the cook?
Anyway, so this is, I'm raising this because this seems like a topic that we can discuss as a group. Because if you are saying that 16-year-olds who vote should be allowed to stand as presidents, you are still saying that there should be an age restriction. So I think the argument more is what age, what should be the age restriction? Because if we are saying that a 9-year-old cannot stand for president, but only when that child is 16, when they can vote, then you are still saying that, hold on, you are still saying that there must be an age restriction, but maybe it is too high. You want it to be brought down. Anyway, we can discuss this as a topic another time, because you've prepared something for today.
Yeah.
So let's. But this is an interesting topic that we could take up. Before you present, Brother Pigeon, Sister Shireen has a hand up. You know, when the sisters raise your hand, we have to listen. Sister Shireen.
Thank you. It's just quickly, because I'm not going to extend it, as you said, Brother Kwame, as chair. But I think I understand. No, it's not a think. I understand what Brother Kwame is saying, and maybe it should be, because maybe it should be, instead of it being ambiguous in the Constitution, maybe there should be specifics within the Constitution that can be referred to. But also, a suggestion is that when young people become of voting age, if they feel they have leadership qualities enough, they should go into a leadership program. So at least a non-biased leadership program. It could be a sort of leadership program that's designed.
Yeah.
Am I being broad?
Sister Shireen, you leave this one. Let's come to this as a topic to discuss, because someone may argue that why should the young ones go into a leadership program? The entire government, as we speak, the entire government of the United Kingdom, as we speak, in Westminster, the government has no trade. They have no experience of government. You didn't know that? Keir Starmer and the entire, they have no leadership experience in terms of running a country, and now they are in charge. So why is it that only the young ones should go on leadership program? How about the old ones as well? But anyway, this is something we can discuss another time.
And can I say, just in case, sorry, Brother Kwame, just in case I'm not in on that, we must remember that these are corporations that people are running as well. The British government, the countries are corporations. So as much as we look at it as though they haven't run anything before, it's the systems are in place to run it like a corporation. I just thought I'd throw that one in.
That is an interesting one. It was one of our sisters who called it the firm. Brother Pigeon.
Okay. Yes. Thank you very much. Let me get my presentation, and I'll say that as a startup, in the traditional African context, of course, in the inheritance system of a king, when the king was dead, like you see even Queen Elizabeth, when the mother was dead, she became a queen not of her age because she was in the lineage. There were so many kings.
Just go on with your presentation, because this topic, if you don't start your presentation, it would derail us from your presentation. So we can pick up the discussion later. Thank you.
My presentation today is neocolonialism in present-day Africa, which what we've discussed before is part of neocolonialism in present-day Africa. But let me take it to an extent of trying to understand the neocolonial forces that are play, because Africa today is at war, and that's what caused part of what we'll be discussing today. So I'll be looking at case study of Malawi, Kenya, and South Africa.
How long do you need, please?
I need only not more than even 30 minutes. It will be something like 20 to 25 minutes.
All right, thank you. Carry on, sir.
Yeah, so I'll be doing a bit introduction. I'll be looking what is neocolonialism, their modes of operations, the impact of neocolonialism, and a bit of case studies, which are 3 countries that I will be mentioning just briefly. Now, Kwame Nkrumah wrote a book, Neocolonialism, the Last Stage of Imperialism. And when I present neocolonialism in present-day Africa, is basically reaffirming that whatever Nkrumah said in his book is still what's going on today. Despite of it being 60 years ago, it's still present with us today. So in this presentation, we'll be exploring the concept of neocolonialism in present-day Africa. We will also examine in various modes of their operation and the significant impact it has on the continent. We'll use a case study, for example, Kenya, Malawi, and South Africa as a case study to illustrate the pervasiveness of neocolonial practices. By understanding neocolonialism, we can work together for a future where Africa thrives in economic, politics, and social spheres. So the primary goal is to understand neocolonialism, its modes of operation and impact to Africa. So now, what is neocolonialism? Basically, neocolonialism is a form of indirect colonial control exercised by powerful nations over other countries. It also involves maintaining economic and political influence without formal political control. It's often also achieved through economic dependence, political manipulation, and cultural dominance. So neocolonialism is a subtle form of domination. It's a subtle form of domination that maintains control over former colonies. Sometimes it's not even only former colonies, but over so-called Western or outside powers influencing the internal affairs of any other country or a continent. Unlike traditional colonialism, neocolonialism does not rely on direct political rule. Instead, is a powerful nations exert influence through economic dependence, political manipulation, and cultural dominance. So former colonies are often left in a state of economic dependence on neocolonialism. You check Germany, Britain, France, even the so-called US and Portugal, they still depend so much on their former colonies for their own economic prosperity, like what was going on in the west part of Africa, where the French was totally depending on the west part of Africa. In this way, by over-depending on these former colonies or on the neocolonial powers, they hinder the abilities of these former colonies to thrive or even for their own self-sufficiency. So there are modes of operation. One is political economic dependence, where we have multinational corporations who exploit resources and labor. And you know very well, there's a report that was done on War on Want, which I've attached here, 2016, where they could show over 101 London-listed companies in the London Stock Exchange that were totally depending on Africa. In fact, they were controlling resources worth $1.1 trillion in Africa by 2016. And this, you see, also is being run by unfair trade practices that keep
Pigeon? Okay. Am I the only one? Okay. Well, okay.
I can't hear him either.
We're here, Brother Kwame. Brother Pigeon seems to have gone.
Okay, he's still there. It's just that I think he's been maybe distracted. Yeah. So I'll just continue speaking.
up there.
So, oh, so the screen is gone. He's gone. He will come back. So, what he was sharing on the screen there are the mechanism of them. He started looking at the modes, and Sister Shireen was talking about the fact that Britain was being run, or Britain is run by the corporate sector, and that essentially is what happens through neocolonialism. So you have multinationals that are controlling the continent, and when Nkrumah wrote the book, I don't know this for sure, but there is a belief that President Kennedy of the U.S. I don't know whether Sister Nancy is conversant with this aspect of the history, but that President Kennedy was assassinated after the debacle over Cuba, and the powers that be at the time were not happy with. So when Cuba was lost, so Cuba used to be, if you like, a colony of the US, if you like, where those with a lot of money go to Cuba, and that's where they spend their money. So Cuba was like a playground for them. And then the communists came in, and then they overthrew that, and they took the Cuba away from them. So they were very angry, and President Kennedy, they felt it didn't do much to rescue Cuba from the communists. So the soldiers who went to Cuba to fight and it didn't happen are the same soldiers or the same forces who came back to America and assassinated President Kennedy. Now, there is an argument that when a coup was planned in Africa, in Ghana especially, because Kennedy was Nkrumah's friend, he would tell Nkrumah that this is what the CIA is planning against you. And so the forces that we were not happy with him. So after they assassinated him, it cleared the way for those forces to now take control of the government through his vice, who is Lyndon Johnson. Now, Lyndon Johnson, when Nkrumah wrote this book that Brother Pigeon is sharing with us, Lyndon Johnson, remember now, Kennedy is dead. And Lyndon Johnson, the vice, is now in charge. Yeah. He never found the killers of Kennedy. Yeah. So remember that. He could have, but somehow they could not work out who killed Kennedy. Anyway, when Nkrumah wrote this book, Lyndon Johnson phoned Nkrumah personally because he was very angry. They were very angry that Nkrumah wrote this book and exposed the workings of neocolonialism. This book was a landmark, and the American presidency and the American capitalist elites were so angry with Nkrumah that, as I said, Kennedy phoned Nkrumah, and what we understand is that he threatened him, and so it wasn't long after that Nkrumah was overthrown. So, Brother Pigeon, are you ready? Because the screen is gone again. I was talking whilst you sorted out your screen and came back. Yeah. So is this in the CIA document? Yeah, what you're about to share with us. So Lyndon Johnson was very angry. So yeah. Now remember that America never had a colony in Africa. America did not colonize Africa. You understand? And that was one of the reasons why Nkrumah went to America to study, because unlike Britain, where people went to France and some went to England to study, so you went to the metropolis of your colonizing nation. And America being not having had a colony in Africa, it was felt that they would see things differently. Anyway, so the book that Brother Pigeon is sharing is really, really it's an important book. What I have never understood is why economics departments anywhere do not take this book seriously, and why the African elites themselves. I understand why it's called neocolonialism, but for some reason this book has never been taken as seriously as it should. Brother Pigeon, you ready to continue?
Yes, I'm ready to continue.
Yeah, carry on.
Yeah, thank you for that. I was just sharing immediately, that was the CIA report on the book, and they actually gave a lot of reports and alerted. And I think, as you said, sometimes back, it became like the climax of their enmity with the Nkrumah. But now, as I was going on, that these countries having influenced the labor of the developing countries or of their former colonies for their own profit, they also practice unfair trade practices, such as low commodity prices for African exports. And they put high prices for their imports, you see, which disadvantage African economy. There's also additionally more of debt issues here, where debt burden are imposed by international financial institutions like you see IMF and the rest. And in fact, according to a report by UNACTAD, in 2022, public debt in Africa had reached $1.8 trillion. So there's also mode of the operation. They also operate through political manipulations. And you see, neocolonial powers may also resort to their so-called political manipulations. And this takes form of foreign interventions in elections and internal conflicts. You've seen how sometimes they come in to give updates on our election. They must verify the results. They must give their comments. You see something like that, like in Kenya, some believe they manipulated the elections of President Ruto. So these are other forms on which they practice their neocolonialism in political manipulation. They may also prop up puppets governments that align with their interests. That is actually hindering genuine democracy. Their tactic can also weaken either continental or regional efforts or Pan-African effort, which can empower African nations. To be very clear, neocolonialists don't want a united continent. They don't want a united continent, and sometimes they even don't want a united country at all, because they know with unity they can be overcome. So they also operate in cultural dominations or dominance, which is through promoting their Western values and our medias. You see all over, you see BBC, ABC, CNN, and those other media channels. Everybody wants to look at them. And how they report their news is based on their own feelings. They also undermine our traditional African cultures and identity sometimes. You see, and we have taken them so much, civilization. Today, many of our people are being affected by cultural borrowing from the West. So cultural dominance is what they practice. Their media, Western values and media are heavily promoted, often overshadowing or even undermining our traditional African cultures and identity. The education system may also be limited in offering opportunity to learn about and celebrate our African rich history and culture. As you can see, the content of what is studied in all Africa, or the education setup sometimes they give, or that's being taught across the continent, is not that which expose our true rich history or our cultural heritage, but just some framings of some what they put. So our people don't learn, even in our own education setup, what is truly for us, but learn more about what's in the West than what is truly us as a people. They also do the so-called, their impact include economic underdevelopment. And this is actually exploitation of resources, which I've said, like those London listed company, London Stock Exchange. They also do those what I've said, unfair trade practices. They also have the debt burden. Those are the impact of neocolonialism in an economic angle. We also have the political instability, where the interveners have said in so many elections and so many other things. So they came in all aspects possible. They also have other angles of social and cultural issues, which is also their impact. By promoting them, or by promoting their Western culture, there's a way on how they erode our traditional culture. Limited education that also weaken our identity as a persons or people. The also exploitation of our resources and then damage our environment. Like now they're coming with the climate issues. But remember, most of the damage given to our environment is more caused by them. The big companies, even in Africa today, that emit some emissions, some pollutions, are majorly not owned by us, but owned by them. So those are a few aspects of how they operate, what is their impact, and basically now in the case studies of many countries like Kenya, you see we were having serious issues with the Kenya recently and demonstrations in Kenya, but you realize that Kenya depends so much on the foreign aid and investment for development of Africa. So Kenya actually serves as a case study for neocolonialism. The nation relies heavily on foreign aid and investment for development projects, which limits its control over its own resources. In fact, it's just out of these demonstrations that the president has ordered for debt audit. But he's setting up a commission for debt audit. Well, you have an auditor general who always give audits of what's going on. And it's part of this foreign influence in Africa that's even led to the protest in Kenya, which is rejecting finance bill, which was believed to be choreographed or actually crafted by the IMF and given to our president. Because the IMF want what you call structural adjustment programs. We do not align with our conditions as a country. So this is all the way we can see them coming in. They exploit our land and our resources. In Kenya here, we still have so many acres of tea farms that are being controlled by the West. Multinational tea companies, the James Finlays, the Unilever. In fact, I grew up in one of the tea farms in all my life. My mother is still there. Wish one day will get her out of there. But it's very pathetic situation, working condition, low wages, and you're being treated inhumane. Like, they don't care about you. You're given for example, 1 kilogram of tea, fine tea from Finlay's company in Kenya. My parents or myself were being paid Now they are having what you call mechanical tree harvesting. So you drag a machine or you pull a machine on top of a tree farm, and you're being paid something like 1 shilling, 1 Kenya shillings, which is 0.0000 something $1 for 1 kilogram. But when it goes out there, that 1 kilogram is being sold to almost $3 to $4. Well, you get 0.0 something dollar out of it. So there is also continuous influence of the same colonial power in our political affairs. You see, when the bill was passing, like in the Parliament of Kenya, the ambassadors from the US and EU were seated in our parliament, overseeing how the finance bill is being passed on their behalf. So if you check in Malawi also, Malawi exemplifies economic burden of neocolonialism as well. It's crippling with debt burden. And you see, Sister Chisema said, there's a young man who's coming out to try to show people and actually take IMF to court. So they have a debt burden that also restricts the ability to invest in essential social programs like education and healthcare. They have unfair trade practices for agriculture exports. Malawi main source of income, which is agriculture, or also keep the nation taps in poverty. So there's a lot of forever dependence on foreign aid in such countries. And this creates vulnerability to external pressure and manipulation. If you check, for example, a country like South Africa, which is having a legacy of apartheid, this creates a lot of economic and social inequalities. You'll be told in South Africa, the majority of those who are rich are not blacks. A lot of companies that are exploiting mineral, even in South Africa, for example, are not South African owned. They either own the nationalities in Africa, you see, or in South Africa. There's also continuous struggle for true economic and political independence. That's why EFF come in, economic and freedom fighters, you see, because there's no that economic liberation in South Africa as a lot of resources still in the hands of the whites, and you see how they even do well in the political space. So all this shows a lot of still manipulations and the impact and the influence of neocolonialism in most of our countries. So basically, just to conclude this, I'll say that neocolonialism still remains a significant challenge to African development. It's an obstacle for African development, and by we trying to understand their operations, African nations and global community can work towards dismantling these neocolonial structures. The path for liberation actually requires a collective action by all African nations or all Africans promoting continental integration and Pan-African solidarity. Only through a unified front can Africa achieve its true economic, political, and cultural independence. So thank you very much for your time. That's the brief ahead.
They're wonderful. Let's clap for Brother Pigeon, guys. Well, wonderful. Thank you so much, Brother Pigeon, for your presentation. The time is 8:22, so we have over half an hour for discussion. And let's have a chat amongst ourselves. Let's link what Brother Pigeon has shared with us with our previous discussion. If anybody wants the slides, we are happy to share. Brother Pigeon is going to put our I know he has a logo on there, but
I'll put a watermark.
Yeah, we'll put or put our copyright on it, and then we can share.
Copyright, yes.
No, thank you. So you might want to keep the slide ready in case somebody wants to comment on with respect to a particular slide. So you might find somebody wants to speak and wants a particular slide to speak to. So let's have a discussion on what we have heard. I would start by saying that what we have heard is wonderful. It seems to me that we now, whilst we are relating what we've heard, Brother Pigeon has done that to the unification of Africa, which is the idea that if Africa is united, it can fight neocolonialism more powerfully, and that if Africa is not united in tandem or in concert with our Afro-Caribbean brothers and sisters in Haiti, we will not be able to defeat neocolonialism. So Nkrumah wrote this book, The Last Stage of Imperialism, which he says is neocolonialism. And the imperialism, according to Lenin, was the last stage of capitalism. And monopoly capitalism in any nation state, and I know Sister Nancy will delve into this for us when she does a presentation later. So in any state, capitalism tends towards monopoly, and then after it exhausts avenues of profit, profit at a supernormal level, it then crosses borders, and this is where colonialism comes in. So Nkrumah wrote this book. I think, Brother Pigeon, to start off my discussion of your presentation, I think we should link what you have presented to the pockets of ordinary Africans. In other words, we must spell out how what you have presented impacts the finances of Africans on an individual level. In other words, if you are unemployed, you don't have money in your pocket, this is how neocolonialism is causing it. The young people who demonstrated in Kenya, you could see they were able to link, some of them, from what I heard, because I heard some of them, they were able to link the finance bill 2024 to their plight. So, for example, somebody said they were raising tax not because they want to give us free education. So they made a link between the finance bill and the fact that they are not educated. What I am suggesting is that if we can link neocolonialism on the continentally in the same way, so people can see the concrete links of neocolonialism and how it's impacting them in their day-to-day life, I think then we can mobilize the youth across the continent. This is my thinking. Anyway, so let's hear from others. Should I go around or call everyone? Yeah, should we do that? Okay, let me do that. So let me start with Sister Ida first.
Brother Pigeon, can you go back one slide back? I don't think we saw enough of it, so I wouldn't mind seeing more of it, please.
Do you mean slide forward or back? Because this is the first.
No, back. The one that had that one, yes. Oh. Go forward now.
The next slide.
No.
Pigeon.
Go back.
The page that tells the content page.
That one, yes. Yeah. Okay. Oh, introduction. Okay. Excuse me. Okay. I think that if you could link, just like Brother Kwame's been saying, but I would link the companies and where they're to be found in Africa, because I know that companies like BlackRock are found all over the place. But I don't think, I'm not necessarily in every country, but they are found all over the place. And I'd like to see their links, and I'd like to see their links over to, I think they're linked in Davos and other different big meetings that people have. So I'd like to see those links, because I think then we would find out who's really taking the vast amount of money out of Africa. So it was an interesting presentation, but I think that it could have a lot bigger depth to it. And some of the suggestions are what I've made. Some of the suggestions are what Brother Kwame's made, but I think it's a nice start. And I say thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Brother Pigeon, you want to respond, or is it okay to take more comments and then you respond later? Yeah. So we've heard from a sister. Let's now hear from a brother. Brother Mafole. Yeah, brother, just if I come to you in a moment. Unless Mafole is not ready, then I'll come to you, Brother Joseph. Yes, Brother Mafole. First of all, thank you so much for your presentation last week. The civil learning
community.
Wow. I mean, I'm sure yeah, we'll come to that again because we need to practicalize that in light of neocolonialism that Brother Pigeon has just presented. Yes, Brother Mafole, yes. Any comments?
Well, just to thank Brother Pigeon for the good presentation. I think that sets us on the ground to know exactly what it is we are working against. But my own take is that I believe we want to not to fight necessarily not to fight neocolonialism, but to replace it. I think we want to replace it. That's my comment.
Yeah, in fact, then thank you for your comment. I'm sure Brother Pigeon will have something to say about that. That's the whole point of Nkrumah's book. That is the last stage. Therefore, we must replace it so that it's dead. Nkrumah wants it dead, and the imperialists want it alive. That's why Lyndon Johnson called Nkrumah, because they were very angry. Because remember that they were ready to. You see, the Americans wanted to replace the Europeans who were leaving Africa, because Africa was in arms against European colonialism after the Second World War. So they were all packing their bags and leaving. And while they were leaving, America was planning to take over, which they have. And so they were very angry with Nkrumah. Right. Thank you, brother Mafole, for your view. Let's get to a sister, and then I'll come to Brother Joseph after that. Sister Marlene, what is your view? Marlene, I hope you are with us. You're not watching a different program.
I was doing my dinner.
Yeah. Share your views, please, Sister Marlene.
Oh, yeah. I didn't listen to all of the presentation, but knowing...
I didn't think you did.
Sorry?
It's okay, continue.
Yeah, but colonialization is just out to keep Africa trapped and oppressed. And it's going to be difficult to get out of it, because it's what keeps the Western world functioning. And people are beginning to realize that, but they don't know to the depth. We only pick up bits and pieces. So only when we go on to program like this or really get involved are we aware. And I think the youngsters are actually picking up, because I did see something with a video, and it was actually on Sudan. And apparently the war has been going on for 30 years there. And the young people were saying that the British and the American is funding the Junjaweed, or whatever those people are called, the militant people. They're arming them. So people are realizing what is going on, but is how for us to get the ordinary people who are not educated not to use the Western arms to kill their own people, because of they think they're going to benefit from it. And these
Sister Marlene, do you not think that the young people in Kenya have shown the way?
Well, yeah, they have.
I don't know to what extent you have followed the what I'll call the Kenyan Youth Revolution, but do you not think they've shown the way? Yeah,
I've seen a bit of it, and they are, they are prepared to stand up, because they said, why are we paying such high prices and money are being wasted on things that's not benefiting the local people? So yes, the young people, and we just got to keep praying for the young that they continue, because once you educate people, you can't keep them oppressed, because they're aware of what is going on. But it's just sad that so many have to die, and you know it's against humanity. They're using live bullets. You know, they wouldn't use live bullets in Europe.
Honestly, I
How
was shocked.
how are they using live bullet? And that shouldn't be allowed. And the African Union or whoever need to step in and said you can't use live bullets on people demonstrating.
Yeah.
You know,
Sister Marlin, do you not think that the police should be prosecuted for using live bullets?
Absolutely. It should be, you know, that's what the European do. You don't want to be doing it to your own people. And they've put you in the position to be doing it. And the elite is supporting it.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Sister Marlin. Let me leave you to go back to your dinner. Brother Joseph, you can come in now. Thank you.
Yes. First of all, I want to thank Brother Comrade Pigeon for the presentation. And although one person said it could have been more depth, I think it's a beginning. We need to also link other known work. Like, for instance, the economic hitman, I don't remember the guy's name who wrote it. You can see all the thing working in it. And then there's a book. I'm holding it in my hand. It's called African Environment and Depth Beyond Adjustment. It was published in 1991. I wonder if it's 1990. It was published as a result of the Structural Adjustment Program that the World Bank and IMF and all these international agencies had hoisted on African countries, I think beginning with Ghana, Senegal, and so on.
Brother Joseph?
Yes?
The book you are referring to, the one you mentioned, is by John Perkins, Confessions of an Economic Hitman.
Yeah, that's one.
Yeah,
definitely.
Confessions of an Economic Hitman by John Perkins. He published it in 2004.
Yeah, so that could be studied alongside the Comey's book. But also, the one I just mentioned here, it was published by an organization in Senegal, Dakar, called ENDA. I'm not too sure if they're still in operation. I used to be connected to them. They actually had a branch in the Dominican Republic.
Have you shared it in the chat? The book?
No, I haven't shared it.
Okay, please.
Although it's not a recent document, it's not a recent, but it shows how Senegal and other states was undermined, how the system that was stable was made unstable by all the reforms that were required, taking off subsidies and also the affront on the forests. There was a lot of African countries were required to do what is called, I think, tropical forest action plan, as dictated by the World Bank and so on. All of these had implications, and I think people in understanding where we are need to go. And I do agree with Ida in that sense. We need to go deeper to see all the connections, because I mean it's very serious. Even when you want, maybe at one level, you try to make adjustment, because the whole system and the whole society or the whole ecosystem has been undermined. It'll take a Herculean task to really revive and also restore. So I think good start. And one thing I want to suggest to people, that we pay attention to things as much as possible. For instance, what is happening in South Africa. I've been listening to what some of the whites in South Africa are saying, which maybe some of us might be reluctant to listen to. And
what are they saying?
Well, in terms of, for instance, there is something that they're pushing. For instance, that the Russians are in South Africa through MK. The Russian sponsored Zuma and so on and thing, and it probably is disingenuous to really make Russia an issue in South Africa when the real problem in South Africa is the continuation of apartheid, the disenfranchisement of Africans in Africa in terms of in South Africa in terms of the access to resources and all of that. So we could be. What I'm saying that to say that what they're talking about could become part of the mainstream media that would then be followed up by our people who are not, I mean, astute, are not, you know, strategic in understanding how we, in our effort, could be derailed in terms of the unification of Africa. Because you see, I believe, and I could be wrong, that South Africa is one of the key elements, as with Nigeria and the Congo, in terms of helping for the unification of Africa. I mean, we need to arrest these places so that if we have to have any hope, because I mean, capitalism and neocolonialism is taking roots again. I mean, in a big way, this is in a bold way in South Africa. You leave it or not? Along with all the wars that have been happening in different parts of Africa, and also even in the Caribbean, where we have countries, you know, vying against each other for the capital. I mean, for the little money, whether it's to tourism or oil production from the imperialists and them. Thanks.
Brother Joseph, do you not think that the handover from apartheid to post-apartheid South Africa in 1994, that the Nelson Mandela government was effectively a new colonial government, that South Africa was never really free?
It was. But at the same time, we had to be strategic and understand that you don't expect, based on the compromise that was made, that you have a miracle transformation. The point I'm making is that we have to be very deep, and in that case, in what I hope that is what Ida talking about, because we are not sophisticated. In other words, we have to be sophisticated. Sophisticated in the sense, even as the young people across Africa seem to be going on, I mean, team on the march. My concern is that what sort of, and I think maybe that's where you were coming when you were asking, Pigeon, about the age, who is supporting them in terms of understanding and contextualizing things? Because one thing to have, we see it happen in the Arab Spring, where the people rose up, and before you know it was the end of the Arab Spring. So you need sustained understanding to be able to push forward in the total emancipation of our people. So certainly, Brother Kwame, of course, what happened in South Africa was a stopgap. And that's where when people like Mandela and them came in, it was, I mean, a little breath of fresh air, giving new hope that we can take it further. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sister Chizomo.
Hello. Yes, so a lot of things to say, but
make it brief, because I know you have a lot to say. Yeah, thank you.
When we about what everybody's saying, oh, we need to. At the same time, there needs to be an understanding. For example, today we've had an introduction on neocolonialism, but how many people in Africa understand it or actually know it exists? So before they've even understood that, it's difficult for them to then heal or fight back or contest against it. The Kenyans have, because they have access to information. Kenya has internet, Kenya has all sorts of things going for the young people. But in other countries like Malawi, there's no internet, they have no access to all these things. At least WhatsApp is kind of helping. But they still have to pay for it. It's very expensive. So for people to have the information that other Gen Zs have and then act on it becomes very difficult. And then by the time they begin to understand these things, it's a bit too late. And it's a deliberate policy on the government to stop information flowing, to stop the young people understanding what's going. The same thing happened when TV started. Malawi took a long time before we were allowed to watch TV, and it's happening again with the internet. So those are the kind of things we get. They have I don't know, they have a way of controlling, and my government is very, very good at it. They have a way of controlling people and controlling information. And I remember when Ukraine war started, Boris on TV, on national TV says, we have invested a lot of money in information management. That's how it starts. Information management. So the reporters cannot say certain things. In Ukraine, only certain things can be said or whatever. Wherever the information is going, and remember, what we see here and what we read here is not what they see out in Africa because of that algorithm stuff that goes on. So we see different things from what they see over there. And so the information management thing. And then there was an issue about Americans never colonized Africa.
That's
we
that
must
is
never.
that is a historical fact.
We
That
must
is a historical fact.
It's a fact, but we must never forget that Americans are Europeans. They are British people.
So it doesn't mean they colonized Africa.
They did not, but they're the same people. They went over there, they fell out, and then they set up their own. So they claim they were colonized by the British when they are the ones who colonized whoever was there.
Yes, I understand that, but
do you know what I mean? So when we keep separating these two when they are the same people, that's why when they're doing things, they do this, they do it together. They never said, "Oh, you're British,
but
we are United States." They remember that we are together, we work together.
Yeah, but it's
that same manipulation that they do to make us believe they are different from the British people.
No, it doesn't mean yes, they are the same people. In terms of Maryland and Virginia were British, the first British colonies on the American continent. Yeah, they were set up by the British.
And also the reason why they will want to be separate.
Can you listen? It doesn't mean that the American states colonized Africa. They came in after the Second World War.
They did not colonize because they colonized under the British government, the British Empire. Now that they are separate, they are continuing it because it's the same
America
people.
Is different from UK. It's different from Germany. They are different. I hear what you're saying, but the people are the same.
Until we understand that they are the same people. They are the same people. Biden is Irish.
We understand.
Trump is
we here understand. Sister Chizon, we here understand. We understand that. However,
and that's how they manipulate us to believe that they are different people. And then we go to them thinking these are better than those ones. And yet, what's manipulating us more today is United States. The neocolonialism.
We don't think that.
The neocolonialism we're talking about is practiced more by United States. And then they ally. That's why they say, "Oh, allies," because they're the same people.
But that is what I said. That when the Europeans were packing to leave Africa because of the uproar over colonialism, America was preparing to move in and take their place. And that is why when Nkrumah published his book, Lyndon Johnson, the American president himself, called Nkrumah personally on phone and threatened him. Maybe you didn't hear me when I said that. So how
I understood, but I want to emphasize the point that they are the same people. Let's not separate them.
Yeah, they're the same people, but so anyway, Father Coco, can you come in, please? So the time is 8:48. Brother Coco.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you, Sister Shisomo. Thank you, everyone who has raised their points tonight. Brother Pickering, I'm sorry I missed your presentation, but I'll pick it on record and then I'll come back to you. But I think we need to dedicate some time to discuss neocolonialism, especially in Nkrumah's book, Neocolonialism, the Last Stage of Imperialism, because I think it's important. It's important we unpick that and let people know what is happening. Okay, that's number one. Point number two is that, Sister Chisomo, you have a point. The Africans at independence, they looked to the Americans and were asking for help from them because they were at one point colonized and they fought for their independence. But those guys betrayed them for their own American interests, as they always say. That's number two. Number three, I know lots of people have been saying there are so many who have lost their lives. Yes, there are. But I think there are many who have lost their life even more from corruption and from inaction, not doing anything. I think for those people who are losing their lives now, we need to be standing up and fighting for them. It should not be in vain. Last point before I log off is that
Coco, are you referring to the Kenyans who have died?
The killings that are happening because of the police using the live bullets and during the revolution. And some people are saying the revolution must stop because of the killings. But it's important for us to realize that if we stop it, they'll continue to kill more of us. And worse, they continue to brainwash a lot of us or demotivate us. That is worse. That is even worse. The last point, which is related to that demotivation, is that we need to realize that we are the owners of agency. We own governance. But lots of people don't realize that. They think the government own agency. And they are using these institutions, the army and the police, to actually control the people. Those institutions are supposed to protect the people. They are supposed to bring order in the country, but the people are in charge. The system is turned upside down. We need to sort of rewire that. It's important we talk about that neocolonial in that context. Thank you. Yes.
Before you go, do you mean the people ought to be in charge? Because they are not in charge right now. Rather than, so they should be in charge, but they are not.
Absolutely. So the miseducation has meant that we think the government is the one in charge, but it actually is the other way around. The government they are our agents. We are the principal.
Yes.
That is a problem.
Thank you very much. Let's hear from, so two more people have to speak, and then we've heard from, in fact, Sanasi hasn't spoken yet, so three sisters haven't spoken. Let's start with, Sister Shaza, you haven't spoken, have you? So the time is 8 minutes to go, so maybe the sisters left, you would make your presentation shorter so that we hear from Mother Pigeon before we close. Let's start with Sister Pamela, please. Thank you. Sister Pamela is not ready, so let's go to...
I can quickly go. I can quickly go.
Yes, please. Then we'll come back
just a quick question I wanted to ask.
Is that to Brother Pigeon, yeah?
Yeah.
The presenter, excellent.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation. I just wanted to ask, do they have unions, for those farmers or those workers who are working for pittance for these multinational companies?
You mean trade unions?
Yeah.
Brother Pigeon, question for you. Are the unions in...
Where?
And if there is, what are they doing,
to
support the workers?
No,
sorry?
In regards to neocolonialism or in regards to what's going on in Kenya?
What Sister Shaza is asking is,
yes,
on the farms, do the farm workers belong to a trade union?
Oh, yeah. In the tea farms, multinational companies, yes.
No, the workers, do they belong to a trade union? If not, Sister Shaza is asking, what is the union doing about their plight?
There is union for workers of the tea farms. Even they did an election recently, and funny thing, the person who was accused of offending females or women sexually, who was appearing in BBC, was still elected as one of the chairperson in the KTDA, the Kenya Tea Workers Tea Development Association.
Shaza, that's the answer. So in other words, the unions are corrupt.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Thank you. Sister Pamela.
Yeah. So I'm going along the lines of I think it was Sister Ida. And she spoke about BlackRock and those companies that are in Africa. And I think that majority of people actually don't know what's going on in the background. I watched a really excellent video, and it was a young Kenyan who was explaining that it wasn't just about the finance bill. It was about countries like BlackRock sneaking in and then having control of water resources. I mean, not necessarily them, but other companies as well. And people don't know that. So there's a need for education on the ground to keep that grassroots revolution going, and ultimately to spread that revolution across borders to other young people. And it has to be young people because they're the ones who are going to sustain that revolution and make a difference in the end. So yeah, I think that first you have to have your educated people who are thinking along revolutionary lines, because they're the ones who have to educate the masses, the grassroots people. And I'm just hoping that it's going to transfer to more countries in Africa, and that it can be sustained to get the multinationals out and get Britain out, get America out. Yeah.
The day we get the multinationals out, then we have defeated new colonialism. Thank you very much for that. Sister Pamela, are you happy to share that video with us? The one you're referring to. If you can find it and share it.
Yeah, it's on my phone, and I've got so many videos on there. I'd have to go way back to try and find it.
Oh, well, don't worry. If you can't, don't worry. Because the reason I'm asking so that Brother Pigeon can get in touch with this young person, so that we can talk. Yeah,
I'll try and look for it.
Thank you, Sister Nancy.
Yes, I just want to comment on a statement that was made that the United States fought for liberation from colonization, and therefore, share some kinship with Africa. Nothing could be further from the truth. The United States is a settler colony. There were people when Europeans got here, a whole nation of indigenous people that were slaughtered, just like the people in Palestine are being slaughtered by the Israelis. This country is not, I think it's just a real misunderstanding of the history of the world to believe that. And I understand how people believe it, because that's the perspective that capitalist imperialist perspective. But Israel, Australia, Tasmania, so many nations in the world were formed by slaughtering the indigenous people. So this country is a settler colony, and this country engages in neocolonialism. And maybe they never had direct colonies in Africa. They certainly have direct colonies in other places in the world, but they have financed the neo-colonies in Africa. That's why they have AFRICOM set up all over Africa, militarizing Africa to make sure that capitalist interests are maintained on behalf of capitalist countries like the United States and Western Europe and Japan and others. So there's no relationship. Also, Kennedy was obsessed with anti-communism. He didn't care about Africa. He was obsessed with anti-communism. I'm old enough to remember when Kennedy was president. And he was obsessed with advancing and strengthening capitalism. And all of his relationship to Africa had at its root repelling communist advancement, because he wanted to make sure that Africa's resources were at disposal of Europe and the U.S. He might have done it with a, carrot instead of a stick, but not so much. And the other thing that he did was came up with these ideas like the Peace Corps, Alliance for Progress, the AID, International Agency for International Development, and agencies like this that promote neocolonial agendas around the world under the guise of providing assistance I mean, it's a very complicated network that he helped participate in weaving, but that's the imperialism that we see today. Kennedy was not a friend of Africa. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Nancy, thank you very much for that. So for those
Can
of
I just comment on the
Sachizomo,
companies?
Sachizomo, please. Someone hasn't spoken yet. We've heard you a few times. Sashirin hasn't spoken yet, and we need to hear. And the time is almost 9. When we do the Malawi one, I'm sure you'll have a lot of time to talk as much as you like. I just wanted to say that in the book that Brother Pigeon has just touched on, some of the things that Sister Nancy has mentioned are there, the peace cause and so on. So if anyone is interested, have a look at the book in advance. Sister Shireen, you'll be our last speaker because of time. It's 1 minute to 9.
I'll keep it very, very brief.
Then when you are
Neo,
done, then Brother Pigeon will say a few words and then he will close the meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so I've been hearing the buzzword neocolonialism for years, and I think for me to actually read this book would give me more of an in-depth understanding as opposed to going by buzzwords and I don't say intuition, but my own kind of chopped up view of what it is. I have to it would be good to refer to a source like this book so that I can actually get to the depth of what it is with a greater understanding. But thank you very much, Brother Pigeon, for your presentation. I think we need presentations that touch the surface, and then we can go on to look below the iceberg, because we know how vast this subject is. It's it dates back from what they would have called the independence days of Africa, the Caribbean, etc., to what we see today. But for me, neocolonialism is a new colonialism. So it's the same as the old, but it's like a wolf dressed in sheepskin in some instances. And for me, it's also the manipulation of language, and how that language has been able to continue to bamboozle a lot of our leaders, draw them into corruption, draw them into the nice cars and the wealth and the offshore banking, etc. But also, I always like to kind of look at the Arab Emirates and the way that they treat their people, and the way that I'm not saying like if you are a citizen, the way they treat their citizens, preserving wealth within the country, reinvesting, giving the people a kind of a decent level of income and a decent house. And they're proud to be and this is another area I need to do research in, but just touching on the surface because I don't have time. By looking at the way that their oil wealth has been spent and the way that they preserve that for their people, and if you are a foreigner coming in, the lines drawn between a foreigner and a citizen are vast, because the citizen gets a lot of benefit. And I'm saying, even like with looking at the Arab Emirates, they've given their citizens a decent amount of money, because obviously the wealth of the royal family and the elites and stuff is still it's still a way, how can I put it, a large distance away from the normal person, but they've given the normal person a decent and above decent level of standing in terms of their living, so they are quite happy with. They're content, whereas in Africa, everything is exhausted and everything is looted, and the continent is being raped of all of its resources. And it's just good to do comparisons between other countries who have wealth in natural resources and the way that it's spent, and the influence that these countries have on that as well. So there's a lot to say. But I also was thinking as well that with the amount of wealth that Africa does have, they are actually able to help redevelop their brothers and sisters in the Caribbean and and in the diaspora as well. It's just that we need a totally new way so that we can use our wealth to benefit the people. And I'll leave it there.
So Shireen, very comprehensive. Just in terms of what you said about the book Neocolonialism, I just want to let you know that this book is the economics of Pan-Africanism. This is the book. If you want to understand the economics of Pan-Africanism in terms of the defeat of neocolonialism, this is the book. If you are, as you know, we are on Thursdays, we read and discuss the philosophy of Pan-Africanism, which is consciencism. The politics of Pan-Africanism is the book Africa Must Unite. So these three books are for us here, and we say this so others can know, are the PPE of Pan-Africanism. PPE is philosophy, politics, and economics. So those three books, Consciencism, Neocolonialism, and Africa Must Unite, are the three books that Nkrumah has asked us, we here in the youth, to master. If you understand these three books, you are armed to fight the struggle and win. So I thought, because I'll share this because of what you said about that you want to understand it, and I want to encourage you to, because this is the book.
Kwame, just very quickly, the Panthers were 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. They were all very, very young, the Panthers, at their time. So that's another case study that we need to look at. And obviously, when Stokely Carmichael came in, that was when they came with their Pan-Africanist, kind of Black First philosophy. But just to say that they were very, very young when they started their revolution. Just wanted to add that in.
And as you remember, he became Kwame Ture and joined Nkrumah. He was in Guinea to see Nkrumah.
Yes, indeed.
Sister Ida, I've put thank you. I've put Musa Faki Muhammad's statement on behalf of the AU on the Kenyan situation in the chat. I don't know if I put it there because you asked.
Oh yes, I found it and I copied it. Thank you.
Whether AU has said anything. All right, the time is 6 minutes past. I'm not usually. We've gone way past our time. Apologies to everyone. I hope we have your permission for Brother Pigeon to make his final comments and announcements before we close. Thank you for your patience. Yes, Brother Pigeon.
Thank you very much. I do appreciate all comments that have been brought. One are outstanding. One, the way to connect the neocolonialism to real issues on the ground, which I think we need to do more work on it. As I can say, my presentation was just rather like a synopsis of what's going on, just an introduction to it. So I just touch on all aspects just briefly, and each aspect needs to be looked into deeply and try to connect its impact in terms of economic quantification and everything else. In regards to the companies that Sister Ida raised, yes, we've done a statement on London Stock Exchange, the war on want, and we listed companies in the country they are, the amount of resources they own, or they control acres of land and everything else. We can still share that to those who are interested to read that report. We've done a presentation on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, but Brother Pigeon, I think what Sister Ida and I think Sister Nancy has also mentioned that is that what we should do next is to link those companies to the concrete situation on the ground. How is it affecting the ordinary Kenyan or the ordinary Ghanaian or the ordinary Gambian? That I think is the next stage of the analysis. So in other words, we don't just want to know that so company controls the oil. We want to know how that is impacting the lives of our people on a day-to-day basis. And that I think is what Sister Ida was meant by depth, because then people can see, they can see how these people are, are so evil, if I may use that word.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Brother Kwame. Just not to go back to that, because yes, I did a short video on my TikTok when I was trying to explain to Kenyans, for example, that a woman who was importing oil equivalent 100,000 barrels of oil was to cost around 13 billion Kenya shillings, 100,000 barrels of oil. But according to one report, the Talo Oil, which is an external company, is controlling 960 million barrels of oil. So can you quantify that? And that was where my basis was. African countries do not need taxation, since they have a lot of resources that they can use to exploit to run their governments without taxation. And people could find, yes, you're trying to make some sense. So yes, there's a need for us to move yonder to continue trying to connect these to how it implies to our economy or the situation we are in. But thank you very much for all your comments. I will look forward to
Other Pigeon.
Yes.
We don't want it to apply to the economy, to the people, their lives, their concrete day-to-day life, because that is how we can conscientize them, and then get them to be angry enough to act. You understand? We have to link these things to their daily life. See, you are suffering because of this company. You see, this is what they do, and that is how it's affecting you. So we link neocolonialism to the people's lives in a way that hasn't been done, or maybe it's been done, but I don't see it. So I think that is what Sister Nancy and Sister Ida are actually saying. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I'll take some time to review all the reports and all the data that are available to try to link maybe as a case study again for some few countries available to just exemplify how this is possible. And we can still use the template to replicate in many countries in Africa so that we can show the people why we are here and the solution is only a united front as we are trying to push for it, you see. So thank you very much. I do appreciate your comments and your time. This Saturday, we were supposed to be discussing Malawi, but we will be discussing Malawi next Saturday. Sister Chisomo is prepared to have a good time to share with us what's going on in Malawi. So we will be doing that next Saturday. Sorry, Sister Chisomo, for not having it today. On Thursday, we'll be going on with our consciousness class. Just to remind you once again, we are running a Pan-African scope. We are establishing Pan-African technical working groups to be practically look at these issues, you see. We have a committee on economics that can then try to link these things and try to come up with concrete solutions as a way forward as Africa. We have education, we have health, and they can link how all this affects us. So those who are interested to be part of this, feel most welcome. The recording by Brother Ndadema Fole, I've shared it. Actually, I just shared the full presentation of his recording via the link in YouTube. And I will be sharing more of the documents that he has shared with us. Those who are interested also get in touch with me so that we can link you with the Ndadema Fole program that's about to start soon. And Ndadema Fole now will not come the next Saturday, but will come the Saturday after this because we had requested for part 2 of his presentation. And I'll be aligning the presentation from Sister Nancy, another presentation that have been proposed here by Brother Joseph. So we are looking forward for anybody who want to do any presentation. Can you get in touch with me? We see how we can link your presentation to Africa Unification, Liberation, and Development. So thank you very much for your time today. Brother Kwame.
Brother Pigeon, you notice Sister Nancy shared Thomas Sankara. Very eye-opening, I found.
No, I shared it. I'm the one who shared it. I think she shared it as well.
Oh, okay. Yes, I saw Sister Nancy's. Did you also share the same thing?
No, I shared it immediately in our groups where she is when I finished my interview with Sister Shanice.
But you didn't share it with us here. So we thank Sister. So you didn't share it with us. But she shared it with them, but not with us. So
yes.
Sister Nancy has shared it on your behalf then. Okay. Thank you. So the time is 9:12. Yes, please.
I propose that
I don't see where Sister Nancy shared it.
Oh, look at 7:42. 0742 p.m. Just look for that time. 0742 p.m. Yeah. So Brother Pigeon, you were saying.
Yeah, we have a session on that depth analysis. I'm analyzing that speech in the future. So I'll also put in the list of the presentation we'll have in the future.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. With that, then we can come to an end of the class, Brother Kwame, unless you have something else.
That's it. No, that's it. We want to thank everybody for their patience. We don't usually do African time here. We've gone 9:12. We apologize. We will try not to go over the time. We always try. So thank you all for coming. Have a wonderful week. And those of you who can, we'll see you on Thursday.